Imagine standing before a mirror, not just to check your reflection, but to meet your own eyes. What do you see? A face that's tired, maybe a mind full of doubts. You've been trying to be enough, to do enough, to prove enough. But somewhere along the way, you forgot the most important person in your life, you. This audiobook isn't about arrogance. It's not about pretending to love yourself while still feeling hollow inside. It's about coming home to your own heart. Because self-love is not a luxury, it's survival. It's the quiet power that rebuilds you when the world tries to break you. It's confidence that doesn't come from applause but from peace. The peace of knowing who you are and honoring that truth. So take a deep breath. This is your journey back to love, confidence, and the unstoppable power within you. Chapter 1. The Forgotten Relationship. There's a moment that comes for everyone, though most of us ignore it when it arrives. It's the moment you realize you've been showing love to everyone but yourself. You've been giving, helping, proving, pleasing. But when was the last time you truly sat with your own heart and asked, how are you really? You see, somewhere between the rush of responsibilities and the noise of other people's expectations, we forget the one relationship that shapes every other, the one with ourselves. We learn early on how to win affection, how to seek approval, how to be enough for others. But nobody teaches us how to be enough for ourselves. So we spend years running towards something that can't fill us: validation, applause, someone's fleeting attention, only to discover that the emptiness was never outside of us. It lived quietly within, waiting for us to notice. Self-love is not about ego or arrogance. It's not standing in front of a mirror and pretending to adore what you see. It's something deeper. It's the quiet decision to stop abandoning yourself. Most people think of self-love as a feeling, but it's not, it's a practice. It's how you speak to yourself when no one's listening. It's what you allow and what you no longer tolerate. It's the moment you say, I deserve better, and actually believe. Think about it. We spend our lives investing in relationships with others, checking in, communicating, nurturing. But how often do you check in with your own soul? How often do you pause long enough to ask, what do I need right now? Most of us don't. We're taught to push through, to stay strong, to keep going even when we're running on empty. Here's the truth. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot offer kindness to others while starving your own heart of compassion. You cannot pour love from a cup that's cracked and dry. And yet, so many of us try. We become experts at pretending to be okay, experts at smiling, while our inner world crumbles quietly behind the mask. But self-neglect eventually becomes self-destruction. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. Loving yourself is not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about finally showing up for yourself the way you've always shown up for everyone else. Imagine for a moment that your mind and heart are like a house you live in every single day. For years you've left the lights off, you've ignored the dust in the corners, you've let others walk in, rearrange the furniture, even leave their mess behind. But this house is yours, and one day you wake up and realize it's time to come home. Coming home to yourself means cleaning out old beliefs, the ones that told you you're not enough. It means repairing the cracks that judgment left behind. It means repainting the walls with patience, forgiveness, and understanding. This is not a quick fix, it's a gentle renovation of the soul. Maybe you've been told that self-love is selfish, that it's wrong to put yourself first. But think about what happens when you board a plane. The safety instructions always say, put on your own oxygen mask before helping others. Why? Because you can't help anyone if you can't breathe. The same is true in life. When you choose to love yourself, you don't become selfish, you become whole. And from that wholeness, you love others more deeply, not out of need, but out of abundance. Confidence and peace don't come from fixing yourself, they come from accepting yourself. They come from looking in the mirror and saying, I may not be where I want to be yet, but I am worthy of love right now, not someday, not when you've achieved enough, earned enough, or changed enough, but now, in this imperfect, beautiful breathing moment. Self-love begins the day you stop chasing worthiness and start remembering it, because worthiness was never something you had to earn. It was something you were born with, but forgetting it has a cost. When you forget your worth, you hand the power of your happiness to others. You let their approval define your confidence. You let their absence define your value. And every time you do that, you drift further away from yourself. It's time to come back, to choose yourself without guilt, to look at your own reflection and say, I am here, I matter, I deserve my own love. This is where confidence begins, not in how the world sees you, but in how you see yourself when the world isn't watching. True confidence is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't compete. It doesn't need to prove. It simply knows. It knows that you are already enough, and that nothing anyone says or does can take that truth away. So, take a moment to breathe. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the weight of everything you've carried for so long, the expectations, the guilt, the endless striving, and let it go. You don't have to fight to be worthy. You already are. The relationship you build with yourself will determine the quality of every other relationship in your life. When you love yourself, you teach others how to love you. When you respect yourself, you show others what respect looks like. And when you believe in your own value, the world begins to reflect it back to you. This chapter, this moment is your beginning. It's the invitation to turn inward, to reconnect, to rediscover the person who's been waiting for your attention all along. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are simply coming home. And once you do, everything else, the confidence, the peace, the clarity, will begin to fall into place naturally. Because self-love is not the destination. It's the foundation. It's the soil from which everything good in your life will grow. You have been everyone else's supporter, encourager and healer. Now it's time to become your own. And as we move forward, remember this truth. You are not learning how to become someone new. You are remembering who you've been all along. The person who was always worthy, always enough, and always deserving of love. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper into the part of your story that lives in your mind. The inner voice that questions, doubts, and criticizes. Because once you understand that voice, you'll learn how to transform it from your greatest enemy into your most powerful ally. But first, take this moment, this quiet, sacred pause, to whisper one thing to yourself. I am coming back to me. That's where the journey begins. Chapter 2, Breaking the Inner Voice of Doubt. There's a voice inside you, you know the one I'm talking about. It's quiet, but relentless. It doesn't scream, it whispers. You hear it in the morning when you look in the mirror. You hear it when you try something new. You hear it every time you begin to believe you might actually be enough. It says things like, who do you think you are? You're not ready, you'll fail. You'll never be as good as them. That voice is not a stranger. It's been living inside you for years. It has memorized your fears, your insecurities, your worst memories, and it knows exactly how to use them against you. But here's what most people never realize, that inner critic was not born inside you. It was built by every harsh word, every comparison, every time you felt not enough. It's not your voice, it's an echo of other people's doubts, replaying in your own mind. The problem is, you've been listening to it for so long, you started believing it was you. The truth is this: your inner voice can either be your greatest ally or your most powerful enemy. The difference lies in how you train it. Think about how a child learns to speak. They imitate what they hear. Your mind does the same thing. If it constantly hears judgment, it learns to criticize. If it hears compassion, it learns to encourage. That means you have the power to retrain your inner voice, to teach it a new language, one made of truth, not fear. But before you can rewrite that inner dialogue, you must understand why it exists in the first place. When we were young, our minds were like soft clay, absorbing everything around us. If someone told you that you were too loud, you learned to shrink. If someone told you that you weren't smart enough, you learned to stay quiet. If you failed once and were shamed for it, you learned to fear trying again. The mind holds on to these experiences as a way of keeping you safe. It's not trying to hurt you, it's trying to protect you from pain. But in protecting you, it also imprisons you. That voice of doubt believes it's keeping you safe from rejection, failure, or disappointment. But in truth, it's keeping you safe from growth, courage, and freedom. Every time you think, "I can't," what you're really saying is, "I'm afraid of what happens if I try." And that's okay. Fear is human. But letting fear make your decisions for you is not living. You were not born to doubt yourself. You were born to discover yourself. Let me tell you something that might change how you see this forever. The mind listens to whatever story you repeat the most. If you repeat "I'm not enough," your mind will find evidence to prove it true. If you repeat "I can handle this," your mind will find strength you didn't know you had. The stories you tell yourself become the life you live. So ask yourself right now, whose story are you living? Yours, or the one your fear keeps writing for you? If you want to change your life, you must start by changing your inner language, and that begins with awareness. The next time that inner critic speaks, don't fight it, don't silence it, just listen. Notice the words it uses. Notice how familiar they sound. Then ask yourself, would I ever speak to someone I love this way? If the answer is no, then you know what to do. It's time to change the conversation. Replace "I can't" with "I'm learning." Replace "I'm not ready" with "I'm becoming ready." Replace "I'll never" with "I'm working toward it." Small shifts in language create massive shifts in belief, because belief doesn't begin in the heart, it begins in the words you repeat. You may not believe these new affirmations at first. That's okay. Your mind doesn't need instant proof, it needs consistent repetition. The more you speak love into your thoughts, the more your brain learns to trust it. Confidence is not born from silence, it's born from conversation, the one you have with yourself every single day. Let's take a moment to be honest. How many dreams have you delayed because you listened to that voice of doubt? How many times have you said no to opportunity because you thought you weren't ready? How many moments of joy did you miss because you were too busy convincing yourself you didn't deserve them? You are not alone. We all battle this inner voice, even the people who seem fearless. The difference is, confident people don't silence their doubt, they question. When the voice says, "You can't do this," they answer, "Why not me?" When it says, "You'll fail," they respond, "Then I'll learn." When it says, "You're not enough," they remind themselves, "I'm already whole." Every time you challenge that voice, you weaken it. Every time you answer with courage, you strengthen your truth. And here's the most beautiful part. One day, that same voice that once criticized you will begin to protect you. It will say, "You've got this." It will whisper, "You've been through worse and survived." It will remind you of your own resilience. That's when you'll know you've rewritten the script. Your inner voice will never disappear completely, but when it learns to work for you instead of against you, it becomes your greatest source of power. So today, I invite you to make a decision, not a loud dramatic one, but a quiet, honest one. Decide that you will no longer let doubt define your worth. Decide that you will no longer confuse comfort with safety. Decide that from this day on, you will listen to your fear, but you will follow your faith. because the voice of doubt will always speak, but you get to decide which voice you believe. Every time you choose courage over comfort, love over judgment, truth over fear, you reclaim a little more of yourself, and with every choice, your confidence grows, not as a mask you wear, but as a strength that radiates from within. So when the voice inside starts to whisper again, and it will, I want you to smile, because now you'll recognize it for what it is, just an old echo, and you'll have something stronger, a new voice rising within you, one that says, I am learning, I am growing, I am enough. That's the sound of transformation, that's the beginning of power. And in the next chapter we'll explore how healing begins, not by fighting your past, but by finally facing it. Because the journey of self-love isn't only about silencing your doubt, it's about healing the wounds that gave doubt its power in the first place. You're ready for that step now. Let's go deep. Chapter 3. Healing the wounds you don't talk about. There are wounds that never bleed, yet they shape everything you are. They live quietly beneath your confidence, behind your laughter, inside the pauses you don't explain. They are the memories you've learned to silence, the heartbreaks, the betrayals, the words that cut so deep you stopped talking about them altogether. We call it moving on, but in truth we often just move forward, carrying the pain like invisible luggage, heavy and unspoken, and one day we realize it's not just our back that aches, it's our spirit. You see, healing doesn't begin when time passes. Healing begins when you stop pretending that time was enough. We all have moments in life when something inside us broke, a friendship that ended without closure, a love that left us questioning our worth, a failure that whispered, you'll never recover. But those moments don't have to define you. They are chapters, not your entire story. The mistake we make is believing that ignoring pain will make it disappear. But silence doesn't heal, it hides. And anything hidden long enough grows stronger in the dark. Think about it. Every time you suppress your pain, you teach yourself to distrust your emotions. You tell your inner world, your feelings aren't safe here. And so, piece by piece, your heart begins to close. But here's the truth. You can't numb pain without also numbing joy. You can't shut down sadness without also silencing peace. The walls you build to protect yourself from hurt also keep love from coming in. Healing is not about forgetting what happened. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself that pain tried to take away. It's the slow, brave act of meeting your own heart again, not as a victim, but as the one who survived. It begins with honesty, not with the world, but with yourself. To sit with your truth, even when it stings. To say, yes, that happened. Yes, it hurt, but it no longer controls me. This kind of honesty feels uncomfortable at first, because for years you've been told to be strong, to keep going, to smile through it. But strength isn't pretending you're fine. Strength is finally allowing yourself to feel. Real healing doesn't rush. It asks you to slow down, to sit inside your own emotions without judgment, to understand that pain is not your enemy. It's your teacher. Every wound holds wisdom. It shows you where your boundaries were ignored. It shows you what you truly value. It shows you what part of you still needs love. The question is, will you listen? Because when you begin to listen, you realize something extraordinary. Your pain was never meant to punish you. It was meant to awaken you. There's a moment in every healing journey when the wound that once defined you becomes the wound that refines you. When the story that once made you cry becomes the story that gives someone else hope. That's the transformation of pain into power. But to get there, you must first let yourself grieve. Grieve the things that didn't go as planned. Grieve the love you didn't receive. Grieve the version of yourself that you had to become just to survive. Grief isn't weakness, it's evidence of how deeply you've cared. And caring deeply is not something to be ashamed of, it's something to honor. You might ask, how do I begin to heal? You start by giving yourself permission. permission to stop running from the parts of you that still hurt. Instead of saying I'm over it, try saying I'm learning to live beyond it. Healing is not about erasing your past. It's about integrating it, understanding that it shaped you, but it does not define you. Sometimes healing means forgiving someone who will never apologize. Sometimes it means forgiving yourself for staying too long, for not knowing better, for trying so hard to make things work. Forgiveness doesn't mean saying what happened was okay. It means you're ready to stop letting it have power over your peace, because holding on to resentment is like carrying fire in your hands. It only burns you. And every day you release a little bit of that fire, your hands become free to build something new. One of the hardest truths about healing is that no one else can do it for you. People can love you, support you, listen to you, but they can't feel what you need to feel. That part belongs to you, and that's a beautiful thing, because it means your healing is in your control. You are not at the mercy of your past. You are the author of what comes next. Let me remind you of something powerful. There is nothing broken about you that love, real, honest, patient love, cannot reach. And that love begins with you. So take your time. You don't need to rush your recovery or prove your progress. Healing doesn't happen in straight lines. It comes in waves, one day strong, one day still. But each wave carries you closer to the shore. The scars you carry are not signs of weakness. They are proof that you healed. They are the story of your strength written in skin and soul. One day, you'll look back on what you're feeling now, and you'll see it differently. You'll realize it wasn't breaking you, it was breaking you open. Open to compassion, to wisdom, to self-respect. Open to love that doesn't hurt to hold. So tonight or tomorrow, when those old memories rise again, don't fight them, welcome them as visitors. Ask them what they came to teach you. Then when you're ready, let them go. Because holding on to the pain doesn't protect you. It only delays your freedom. And freedom, my friend, is where healing ends and living begins. In the next chapter, we'll explore the quiet strength found in boundaries, the art of saying no without guilt, and how protecting your peace becomes one of the purest forms of self-love. Because once you begin to heal, your next lesson is learning how to stay whole. And that begins with knowing where to draw the line. Chapter 4. The Power of Boundaries. Protecting your peace without apology. There comes a moment in every person's life when they finally understand this simple truth. Peace is not found, it's protected. It's not something that drifts gently into your hands. It's something you must learn to guard, to nurture, to defend when the world tries to take it away. For years, you may have believed that being kind meant always saying yes. That love meant self-sacrifice, that to keep others happy, you had to make yourself small. But every time you said yes when your soul whispered no, you weren't being kind, you were abandoning yourself. And the cost of that abandonment, your peace. Boundaries are not walls, they're gates. They don't shut the world out, they decide who and what gets to come in. They're how you teach others the value of your time, your energy, your presence, and most importantly, they're how you remind yourself that your inner world matters just as much as anyone else's. You see, peace doesn't disappear because of chaos. It disappears when you let chaos inside. Every yes that comes from guilt drains your energy. Every no that comes from self-respect builds your freedom. And the moment you understand that distinction, your life begins to change. It starts quietly. You begin to notice the moments that once made you anxious, the draining conversations, the people who only call when they need something, the expectations that always pull you away from yourself. And instead of shrinking to fit, you pause, you breathe, you remind yourself, I have the right to protect my energy. That single thought is revolutionary, because when you've spent years over-giving, over-fixing and over-caring, choosing yourself feels selfish. But it's not, it's sacred. You can love people deeply and still have limits. You can care about others and still choose rest. You can be generous with your heart and still say, "Not today." Boundaries are not rejection, they're clarity. They say, I know what I can give and I know what I can't. And that honesty, though uncomfortable at first, is the purest form of respect you can offer, both to yourself and to others. The truth is, not everyone will understand your boundaries. Some will take them personally. They'll call you distant, cold, or difficult, but that's only because your old lack of boundaries benefited them. You are not responsible for how others react to your self-respect. You are only responsible for maintaining it. Let's be honest, setting boundaries can be terrifying. It means confronting your own fear of rejection, your fear of being misunderstood, your fear of disappointing people. But think about it. How many times have you disappointed yourself to avoid disappointing someone else? That's the quiet pain boundaries heal. Because the more you live for approval, the more you lose yourself in the process. And every no you speak from courage is a small act of returning home. Home to your authenticity, your calm, your truth. Boundaries are love, with structure. They tell the world, I will show up, but not at the cost of myself. Let me share something that most people never realize until it's too late. Unprotected energy invites manipulation. Undefined limits attract imbalance. When you fail to decide what you stand for, someone else will decide for you. That's why boundaries are not just emotional, they're spiritual. They define the vibration you live in. They're the invisible line between peace and exhaustion, love and resentment, purpose and distraction. And here's something powerful. The more peace you protect, the more power you reclaim. You begin to attract relationships that honor your limits instead of testing them. You begin to see that the right people will never require you to shrink. The universe meets you at the level of your self-respect. When you start saying no to what drains you, you create space for what aligns with you. So if you're listening right now and you've been afraid to draw a line, let me remind you, your peace is worth the discomfort of setting it. The people who truly love you will adjust. The ones who only loved your compliance will fade away. And that's not loss, that's alignment. Every healthy boundary you set is a declaration. I am not available for chaos. I am not here to be drained. I am here to live in balance, not burnout. It's not about control, it's about clarity. Because when you know what you will and won't allow, you stop negotiating your peace. Boundaries don't just protect your time, they protect your evolution. They give you the quiet space needed to grow, to think, to breathe, to reconnect with your purpose. Without them, life becomes a blur of obligations. With them, life becomes intentional. But remember, boundaries are not built overnight. They take practice. You'll stumble, you'll second guess, you'll want to retreat. But each time you choose to honor yourself, it becomes easier. The guilt fades, and in its place comes peace, deep, steady, unshakable peace. One day, you'll look around and realize you no longer feel drained by everyone else's need. You'll notice that silence no longer feels empty, it feels safe. And in that safety, you'll rediscover your own rhythm, the sound of a soul that no longer lives in survival mode. Boundaries are not about separation, they're about connection. Real, conscious connection that's built on respect, not resentment. They make love cleaner, friendships healthier, and life quieter. Because true peace doesn't come from having fewer problems. It comes from refusing to let the wrong ones consume you. So the next time someone calls you selfish for protecting your energy, smile gently and remember, they're only noticing the places where you've stopped bleeding for their comfort. Let that be your quiet victory. You've spent enough of your life being everything for everyone. Now it's time to be whole for yourself. And once you master that, something beautiful happens. Your presence becomes lighter, calmer, stronger. You stop trying to prove your worth and simply live it. In the next chapter, we'll explore the sacred art of stillness, how silence becomes your teacher, how solitude heals more than company ever could, and how slowing down can open the door to the deepest wisdom within you. Because after you've learned to protect your peace, the next step is learning how to dwell in it. Chapter 5. The Sacred Art of Stillness. Learning to hear your own soul. There's a kind of silence that doesn't feel empty. It feels alive. It's the silence that hums beneath the noise of the world, waiting for you to notice it. It's not the quiet of absence, but the quiet of presence. And when you finally sit with it, truly sit with it, something shifts inside you. We live in a world that worships movement. Do more, be more, achieve more. We scroll, we rush, we fill every moment with sound, distraction, or demand. But in that constant noise, we forget one of life's most powerful truths. You cannot hear your own soul if you never stop to listen. Stillness is not laziness. It's not weakness. It's strength, the kind that doesn't shout but whispers. It's the moment between your breaths where your spirit remembers who it is. Because beneath all the chaos, you've always been calm. Beneath all the noise, you've always been whole. Think about the ocean for a moment. When the waves are wild and restless, the surface looks chaotic, unpredictable, even dangerous, but dive deep enough and you'll find absolute stillness. That's what stillness really is, not the absence of movement, but the depth beneath it. It's the part of you that remains untouched by the storms on the surface. When you practice stillness, you don't stop life from happening. You simply stop reacting to it. You begin to respond with clarity instead of panic, with intention instead of impulse. And that is where confidence begins to grow. Because self-confidence isn't built in moments of noise or comparison. It's born in silence, in those quiet moments when you face yourself without distraction. Stillness gives you the courage to be honest about what you feel, what you want, and who you are becoming. It's where you learn to trust your own voice, not the voice of fear, not the opinions of others, but the quiet truth within you. There's a reason why every great thinker, artist, or spiritual teacher in history sought solitude. Because silence is where the answers live. Not because the world suddenly changes when you're quiet, but because you do. The chatter in your mind softens, the layers of performance fall away, and what remains is the unfiltered essence of you, raw, real, and radiant. Stillness is not always comfortable at first. In fact, it can feel unsettling. Because when you finally slow down, the emotions you've buried begin to surface. The loneliness, the grief, the confusion, they rise up asking to be acknowledged. But here's the truth. Stillness doesn't create pain, it reveals it, and what is revealed can finally be healed. Imagine sitting beside a lake at dawn. The water is calm, the air still, the light soft. Now imagine throwing a stone into that water. Ripples spread across the surface, distorting the reflection. That's what your thoughts do. Constant movement disturbs the mirror of your mind. But when you stop tossing stones, the reflection returns. You can finally see yourself clearly again. That clarity is what the world tries to distract you from. Because a clear mind cannot be manipulated. A peaceful heart cannot be controlled. And a person who has learned to be still cannot be broken by noise. You begin to notice how many things you once mistook for connection were actually distractions. How many conversations were just escapes from silence. And in that awareness, you start to crave something deeper, not more stimulation, but more presence. The more you practice stillness, the more your inner landscape changes. You begin to hear the subtleties of your own intuition, that gentle nudge that says this feels right, or this isn't for me. You realize that your inner voice has been speaking all along. You just needed the quiet to recognize it. Stillness is where self-love matures, because when you slow down long enough to be with yourself, you stop seeing your flaws as enemies. You begin to understand them, even embrace them. You start to feel compassion for the parts of you that once felt unworthy. You learn that peace doesn't come from perfection, it comes from acceptance. And from that acceptance grows something beautiful, authentic, the courage to move through the world as yourself, unfiltered, unmasked, unafraid. Stillness gives you that power. It reminds you that you are not your circumstances, your past, or your mistakes. You are the awareness watching them all pass by. Even just a few minutes of stillness each day can change everything. You don't need a mountain retreat or a meditation cushion. You just need presence to pause, breathe, and listen. When you do, the noise begins to dissolve, and in that quiet space, you begin to hear life whisper back. Slow down, it says. You don't have to chase everything. What's meant for you will find you when you're still enough to receive it. Stillness teaches you patience. It teaches you trust. It teaches you that sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. You are not falling behind. You are aligning. You are not missing out. You are making space, and you are not stuck. You are being still, long enough to gather your strength for what comes next. So if your soul feels tired, if your mind feels loud, if your heart feels scattered, don't fix, don't scroll, don't run, just sit with yourself and breathe. You'll be amazed at what rises from the quiet. The world will keep spinning, but you will move differently within it, with grace, with calm, with certainty, because once you've touched stillness, you never lose it. You carry it everywhere you go. Stillness doesn't make you smaller, it makes you infinite, because in that sacred space, you realize you are not separate from life, you are life itself. And when you move again, you do so from peace, not pressure, from love, not lack, from awareness, not urgency. In the next chapter, we'll explore the next stage of this journey, how to transform inner peace into outer confidence, how to walk into the world grounded, certain, and radiant, no longer needing approval, because you've already found what you were searching for within. Chapter 6. The Hidden Power of Surrender. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when fighting no longer works, when the effort, the striving, the endless chase for control begins to feel heavy, exhausting, and hollow. It's the moment you realize that all your planning, all your trying to make life bend your way, has only built a wall between you and peace. That's when surrender whispers, not as defeat, but as liberation. Surrender is one of the most misunderstood powers in the human experience. People often mistake it for giving up. But surrender is not the end of action. It's the end of resistance. It's the sacred pause between doing and being, the moment when your will finally bows to the rhythm of something wiser, larger, infinitely more intelligent than you. Imagine standing in a river, fighting the current with every ounce of strength. Your muscles ache, your breath shortens, and the water seems stronger than ever. But the moment you stop resisting, when you let go, the river carries you effortlessly forward. That's surrender. The current was never your enemy. It was always your path. So much of human suffering comes not from what happens to us, but from the stories we tell about it. We fight reality. We demand that life obey our expectations. We cling to plans, outcomes, and identities as if they were our safety nets. But here's the truth. Control is an illusion that costs you peace. When you cling too tightly, you cut yourself off from the flow that's trying to lead you somewhere far more beautiful than your mind can imagine. Surrender doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying what was never yours to hold. You begin to trust the unfolding, even when it's unclear, even when it hurts, even when every part of you wants to interfere. Surrender is the courage to allow life to surprise you. There's a quiet strength in those who have learned this art. They move through chaos with calm eyes. They don't rush to fix, to judge, or to control. They simply listen to the whispers beneath the noise, to the timing that isn't theirs to dictate, and somehow everything begins to align for them. not because they forced it, but because they flowed with it. You see, life isn't asking you to have all the answers, it's asking you to trust that the answers will come when you're ready to receive them. Every setback, every delay, every closed door is a redirection, not punishment. When one path disappears, another quietly appears, often where you least expect it. But you'll only see it when you stop demanding that it look the way you planned. In surrender, miracles feel ordinary. Coincidences become conversations with the divine. Synchronicities are no longer random. They're reminders that you're in harmony with a deeper order. You begin to notice how life speaks to you through timing, intuition, and subtle signs that used to go unnoticed. You move from forcing to allowing, from fear to faith, from tension to trust. Think about it. Every major transformation in your life probably began when you finally let go, when you stopped trying to make something happen and allowed it to unfold in its own way. The relationship that arrived after you stopped searching, the clarity that came after you stopped overthinking, the peace that entered only after you stopped fighting the storm. That's the silent power of surrender. It opens the door to everything you've been chasing. But to surrender, you must first face your attachment to control. You must look at the part of you that believes, if I stop trying, everything will fall apart. That's the ego's illusion. In truth, when you stop grasping, life finally has space to breathe through you. The storm outside begins to calm because the storm within has settled. Surrender doesn't happen once. It's a daily practice. Each morning, you can choose to trust again, to let life be your teacher instead of your opponent. You can release the need to know what's coming next, and instead focus on being fully present in what is now. You can walk with faith instead of fear, even if the path ahead is invisible. This is where true power lies, in softness, not struggle. The soft heart, open and unguarded, carries more strength than any hardened will, because while control is born of fear, surrender is born of love. Love for life, for yourself, for the mystery that keeps unfolding beyond your understanding. And when you live from that love, you begin to see that nothing is against you, it's all guiding you. So if you're in a season of uncertainty right now, listen closely. This may be the chapter where life is asking you to release your grip, to stop pushing against what is, and to start trusting what could be. Let yourself rest in the unknown, not as a prisoner of doubt, but as a participant in divine timing. Sometimes the universe delays your plans only because it's rearranging something greater behind the scenes. And when the timing is right, you'll understand why you had to wait, why you had to lose what you thought you needed, why certain people left and others appeared. It will all make sense, but only from the other side of surrender. Surrender is not weakness, it's the highest form of wisdom. It's not the end of your story, it's the moment the story starts writing itself through you. When you let go, you don't fall, you rise, because you're finally carried by the current of life itself. So breathe, trust that what is meant for you is already on its way. Stop wrestling with reality and begin to dance with it. The rhythm was never lost, you just stopped hearing it under the noise of control. Now it's time to listen again, because the next chapter of your journey, the one that waits just beyond this moment, begins not with effort, but with trust. And that trust begins when you surrender. Chapter 7. The Light Within the Shadow. There are moments in life when the darkness feels endless, when the weight of uncertainty, pain, or loss presses so heavily on the heart that you begin to wonder if the light has forgotten you. You try to stay strong, to keep faith alive, but some nights feel longer than others, and in those nights, something inside you quietly asks, will I ever feel whole again? But here's the truth, the light was never gone. It was simply hidden, waiting behind the very shadow that frightened you. Because in the human journey, the shadow isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. It's the mirror that shows you the parts of yourself still waiting to be seen, accepted, and healed. You see, the shadow is not darkness meant to destroy you, it's the depth meant to reveal you. Every fear, every wound, every doubt you've carried, they are all invitations. Invitations to go deeper than comfort, to meet yourself beyond the mask, because what you call darkness is often just light that hasn't been understood yet. Think about the night sky. If you stare long enough, what once looked like emptiness becomes full of stars. The darkness doesn't erase the light, it makes it visible. Your pain works the same way. It reveals what's sacred in you by stripping away everything that isn't. So many people spend their lives running from their shadows. They hide from their own reflection, from grief, anger, shame, or guilt, thinking that avoiding the pain will protect them. But what's repressed doesn't disappear. It waits. It hides in behavior, in fear, in silence, in the parts of your life that never seem to change. And only when you turn toward it, when you say, "I'm ready to face what's been buried," does real transformation begin. The courage to face your shadow is the beginning of inner freedom. It's not about perfection, it's about honesty. It's saying, yes, I have wounds, but I am not my wounds. It's learning to sit with discomfort until it becomes wisdom. To forgive yourself not because you forgot, but because you finally understand. There's a quiet beauty in this process. When you stop hiding from your pain, you begin to see the tenderness within it. You realize that the moments you once hated were shaping your empathy, your resilience, your capacity to love. Your shadow is where your humanity lives, raw, unfiltered, and real. And when you stop fighting it, it becomes your greatest source of light. Sometimes the universe doesn't take the pain away, not because it's cruel, but because the pain is a doorway. It's how life gets your attention. It's how your soul whispers, "There's more to you than what you're showing the world." Through pain, we remember that strength isn't the absence of struggle, it's the grace we bring to it. Think of the seed buried in the soil. In the darkness it breaks open. It must shatter before it can grow. If it resisted the breaking, it would never become the tree it was meant to be. The same is true for you. Your breaking wasn't your end, it was your becoming. There's a story written in every scar, a testimony that you have survived what once felt impossible. And survival is not a small thing. It means you've met the night and still carried the dawn within you. It means you've walked through fire and learned to glow instead of burn. Healing doesn't erase your past, it transforms your relationship with it. You begin to see that the shadow didn't come to punish you, it came to awaken you. It came to remind you that you are vast enough to hold both pain and peace, both chaos and calm. You are not meant to choose between light and dark. You are meant to become the space where both can exist in harmony. To face your shadow is to reclaim your power. It's to stop giving your energy to the ghosts of what could have been and start honoring what is. It's to meet yourself with compassion, to hold your younger self, the one who made mistakes, who was afraid, who didn't know better, and say, "I see you, I love you, you can rest now." That's how you begin to integrate. That's how you become whole again, not by escaping the dark, but by bringing your own light into it. And that light, the one born from honesty and compassion, shines brighter than anything you've ever forced, because it's real, it's earned, it's yours. The world often tells you to stay positive, to look on the bright side, but true peace doesn't come from avoiding the dark. It comes from walking through it, awake, aware, and unafraid. It comes from realizing that your shadow doesn't make you broken, it makes you complete. So the next time you feel the darkness closing in, remember this: you are not lost, you are being guided inward. The night is not trying to destroy you, it's trying to introduce you to your own light. Don't run from it, sit with it, listen to what it's teaching you. Because hidden inside your deepest pain is a version of you that's been waiting to be discovered, the version that knows how to love without fear, to forgive without forgetting, to shine without seeking permission. When you learn to walk with your shadow, life begins to feel different. You no longer fear what you don't understand. You no longer need to pretend to be unbreakable. You realize that your cracks are not flaws, they're openings through which the light can enter. And maybe, just maybe, that's been the purpose of it all. To show you that the same darkness that once frightened you was actually the canvas where your soul was painting its light all along. So as this chapter closes, take a breath, feel the weight you've been carrying begin to soften. You don't need to fix everything tonight. You only need to open your eyes to what's already here, the quiet, steady light that's been with you through it all. Because the next chapter isn't about avoiding the dark, it's about learning how to walk in it, with peace, with presence, and with unshakable trust in the light that now lives within you. Chapter 8. The Art of Letting Go. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when holding on hurts more than letting go. You can feel it, that quiet ache beneath the surface. You cling to what once made sense, what once felt safe, even as it begins to slip through your fingers like sand. And though part of you knows the truth, that everything changes, another part resists it, begging time to pause just a little longer. But life doesn't stop when we're afraid. It keeps flowing, like a river that refuses to be still. And sooner or later, we realize that to keep living, we must learn to release. Not because we've stopped caring, but because holding on to what's gone keeps us from receiving what's next. Letting go is not weakness, it's not indifference, it's the highest form of courage, the kind that whispers, I trust that something greater is unfolding, even if I can't see it yet. The truth is, we've all carried something longer than we should have, a memory that replayed too many times, a relationship that outgrew its purpose, a version of ourselves that no longer fits who we're becoming. We cling, thinking we can preserve what was, but in doing so, we miss the beauty of what is trying to be born. There's a quiet grief in letting go, and that's okay. It means you cared. It means you lived. But holding on to the past out of fear of the unknown is like standing in a doorway, refusing to step into the sunlight because you're still staring at the shadow behind you. You can't begin a new chapter if you keep rereading the last one, and yet so many of us stay stuck in the memory of what used to be. We confuse comfort with peace. But peace doesn't come from clinging, it comes from surrender. From the moment you say, I release what no longer serves my growth, and I trust that life knows what it's doing. Letting go isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's silent, a soft exhale in the dark, a quiet decision made alone. It's the moment you stop chasing what's trying to leave and start nurturing what's trying to stay. It's when you forgive not because you've forgotten, but because you refuse to carry the weight anymore. You see, life moves in cycles, beginnings and endings, arrivals and departures. To deny this rhythm is to deny life itself. Everything you love, everything you lose, plays a role in shaping you, and sometimes what looks like an ending is simply an invitation to return to yourself. Think of autumn. The trees don't fight the falling leaves. They release them gracefully, trusting that what's lost now will return in another form, in another season. They don't rush the process, they surrender to it. And in that surrender, they find renewal. You are no different. Every loss, every goodbye, every shattered expectation is clearing space for something your soul has quietly been asking for. Sometimes what you lose is not a punishment, it's protection. It's the universe removing what cannot go where you're headed next. But letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering with peace instead of pain. It means looking back and saying, that chapter shaped me, but it no longer defines me. Because the truth is, nothing truly meant for you will ever require you to beg, chase, or suffer to keep it. What's aligned will stay, not because you held on, but because it belongs. We often fear that letting go means emptiness, but in reality, it's spaciousness. It's the quiet before new life takes root. It's the breath your soul has been longing to take after holding on for too long. And in that space you begin to feel something miraculous. Freedom. Freedom from what you thought you needed. Freedom from the stories that kept you small. Freedom from the illusion that control equals safety. True peace begins the moment you stop trying to control the flow and start trusting the current. It doesn't mean you won't feel the ache. You will. But pain is not your enemy. It's proof of your capacity to love deeply. And love, real love, doesn't vanish when something ends. It transforms. It flows back into you, into the world, into everything that awaits your open heart. So if you're standing in that uncertain space right now, between what was and what's yet to be, take a breath. You are not lost. You are in transition. And transitions are sacred. They are the threshold between old identities and new beginnings. Letting go is not the end of your story. It's the pause before the next beautiful sentence begins. It's the space where you learn to trust yourself again, to remember that your worth is not tied to what stays or leaves. Your worth simply is. One day, you'll look back and realize that the moment you finally released what was heavy was the same moment you began to rise. You'll see that the loss that broke you also cleared the path for your awakening, and that every ending you once resisted was actually an act of divine grace in disguise. So let this be your quiet reminder. You are allowed to let go. You are allowed to outgrow people, places, and versions of yourself that no longer reflect your truth. You are allowed to choose peace over attachment, presence over nostalgia, faith over fear. Because in letting go, you don't lose yourself, you find yourself. You return to the stillness that's been beneath the noise all along. You learn that love doesn't mean holding tightly, it means trusting deeply. And as you walk forward lighter and freer, something beautiful begins to unfold. Life meets you halfway. New doors open, new connections appear, new energy flows in, all because you created space for it. So when the time comes, and it always does, open your hands, release what you cannot keep, and whisper to yourself, I'm ready, because letting go isn't the end, it's the beginning of everything real. Chapter 9. The Mirror of Stillness. There comes a moment in every seeker's life when the noise of the world grows unbearable. Not because the world itself has changed, but because you begin to hear the silence beneath it. It calls to you, quietly, insistently, like a whisper from beyond the visible. It asks one simple question: can you be still long enough to meet yourself? Most people run from that silence. They fill it with conversation, with screens, with busyness disguised as purpose. They chase one task after another, hoping motion will mask the emptiness they feel inside. But silence does not chase. It waits, patient, ancient, unwavering. And when you finally stop, when the rush fades, and you breathe for the first time without expectation, you find that the silence is not empty at all. It is alive. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of awareness. It's that moment when you sit beneath a sky of infinite stars and realize that the same stillness holding the cosmos together lives within you. It's the quiet knowing that you are not separate from life. You are life, observing itself. But stillness is not easily found, because it requires you to face what you've been avoiding. In stillness, every suppressed emotion rises like dust in sunlight. Fears, regrets, unspoken griefs. And this is why many turn away. They say, I can't meditate, my mind won't stop. But the truth is, stillness isn't about stopping your thoughts. It's about learning not to drown in them. Imagine standing beside a river. Thoughts are the water, always moving, never silent. Stillness is the watcher standing on the bank, watching the current flow without trying to control it. At first the river roars, then as you remain, something shifts. You begin to see the patterns, the reflections, the spaces between the waves. You realize the river was never the problem, your attachment to the noise was. We spend so much of our lives reacting to messages, to opinions, to the chaos of the day. But reaction is the language of survival. Stillness is the language of mastery. Only in stillness can you see clearly. Only there can you hear the whisper of intuition that gets drowned out by constant motion. Think of the greatest decisions you've ever made, not the impulsive ones, but the ones that came from deep knowing. They didn't arise from panic or pressure. They came in a pause, in the quiet space where clarity lives. Stillness is where truth reveals itself, softly but unmistakably. In a world addicted to noise, silence becomes a superpower. When everyone rushes to speak, the one who listens becomes the wisest in the room. When everyone fights to be seen, the one who observes understands what others miss. This isn't passivity, it's presence. The still mind doesn't retreat from life, it sees life without distortion. And here's the paradox: the more you practice stillness, the more alive everything becomes. The colors sharpen, the sounds deepen. The simplest moments, sunlight through a curtain, the sound of footsteps in the morning, become gateways to awe. Because when your mind stops labeling, judging, and resisting, life finally has room to speak. Stillness is not a destination, it's a practice of remembrance, remembering who you were before the noise began. You were not born restless, you were born aware, open, connected. Every moment of stillness brings you closer to that origin, not to something new, but to something ancient and familiar. But here's the truth most overlook: stillness is not fragile. You can carry it into chaos, you can stand in the middle of a storm, and still remain unmoved inside. That's when stillness becomes strength. When others lose balance, you remain anchored. When life demands action, you act from clarity, not fear. To cultivate this, you must first make peace with solitude. Alone does not mean lonely. Solitude is the sacred space where you realign with yourself, where you remember that you are never truly without company, because consciousness itself is your companion. When you sit in stillness, you begin to see the mind is loud, but you are not the mind, you are the awareness listening to it. Many fear stillness because they think it will take them away from life, but in truth it brings you deeper into it. It doesn't isolate you, it awakens you. When you are still, you see beauty where you once saw boredom, grace where you once saw chaos, and purpose where you once saw coincidence. Stillness turns existence into poetry. So how do you begin? Not by forcing quiet, but by allowing it. Close your eyes for a few moments each day. Notice your breath, not to change it, but to feel it. Let thoughts come, let them go. You are not here to stop the tide. You are here to watch it rise and fall. And slowly, with patience, a space opens inside you, vast, peaceful, unshakable. The more you touch that inner space, the more it transforms how you live. Conversations become deeper, choices become wiser, love becomes freer, because it is no longer clouded by insecurity or noise. In stillness, you meet yourself without disguise. And when you know yourself, truly know yourself, the world can no longer control you with its chaos. Stillness is the mirror of truth. When you look into it, you see not the masks you wear, but the light that has always been shining behind them. That light is who you are, timeless, aware, infinite. And as you continue on this journey, remember this: stillness is not something you seek outside, it is something you return to within. It was never gone, only covered by the noise of living. And once you rediscover it, you realize you were never lost. So pause, breathe, listen. Beneath every sound, beneath every thought, there is a silence waiting to hold you. That silence is not empty, it is full of you. And in the next chapter we will explore how that stillness, once awakened, becomes the foundation of creation itself, because from the quiet mind, all true power begins. Chapter 10. Becoming your own light. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing in a room with all the lights off. The darkness is thick, almost tangible, pressing against your skin, filling every corner. You feel a small flutter of fear, uncertainty, and then, somewhere deep inside, a tiny spark ignites. It's faint at first, barely visible but unmistakably alive. That spark is you. Your essence, your courage, your self-love, waiting to shine. This chapter is about that spark, the light within you that no circumstance, no opinion, no past pain can ever dim. It is time to awaken it fully, to step into it with intention, and to let it illuminate every part of your life. Because self-love is not just a feeling, it is a force, a luminous energy that transforms everything it touches. For too long, many of us have searched for light outside ourselves, in validation, in achievements, in other people. But the truth is, the external world is a reflection, not the source. It can mirror your brilliance, but it cannot create it. Only you can do that. Only you can become the lighthouse in your own storm. Becoming your own light begins with awareness. It begins with noticing when you dim yourself for comfort, for acceptance, for fear of standing out. Notice when you shrink, when you whisper instead of speaking, when you hold back your joy, and then gently decide not to do it anymore. Decide that from this moment, your radiance is non-negotiable. Imagine your life as a garden. Every thought of doubt is a weed. Every act of self-neglect is a stone, weighing down the soil. But every choice to honor yourself, every act of courage, every moment of kindness toward yourself is sunlight. It nourishes your roots. It encourages your petals to bloom. And slowly, inevitably, the garden of your life begins to glow. Self-love, like light, is both quiet and powerful. It does not boast. It does not demand recognition. It simply shines, and in its shining, it gives life to all that surrounds it. When you love yourself unconditionally, you stop seeking permission to exist fully. You stop looking for others to affirm your worth. You begin to live from a place of abundance rather than scarcity, from confidence rather than fear. But this path is not without challenge. The world often resists light, especially the light it doesn't understand. You may encounter doubt, criticism, or even moments of loneliness as you step fully into your brilliance. This is natural. It is not a sign that you are wrong. It is proof that you are doing something extraordinary. You are choosing to shine when you could stay hidden. To nurture your inner light, you must practice presence. Be present with your emotions, with your choices, with your body and mind. Feed yourself the truth that you are enough. Always have been, always will be. Affirm your strength. Acknowledge your struggles without shame. Celebrate small victories, because every step towards self-love strengthens your luminosity. Another key is compassion, toward yourself first, then toward the world. The light that burns without compassion is harsh, fleeting, and isolating. But the light that grows from tenderness, patience, and understanding is enduring. It warms without burning. It guides without forcing. It uplifts without demanding. Remember, becoming your own light is a daily practice. It is choosing again and again to prioritize yourself, to honor your values, to forgive yourself, to say no when necessary, and to embrace joy even when fear whispers otherwise. It is quiet, consistent, unwavering. It is radical. It is revolutionary. Visualize yourself walking through life as a radiant being. Others may stumble in the dark, but your light shows the way. And yet this illumination is not about saving anyone. It is about embodying your truth so fully that your presence alone reminds others of their own potential to shine. It is about inspiring not through words, but through the courage to simply exist in your brilliance. And here is the most powerful truth. The more you shine, the less room there is for self-doubt. The more you honor yourself, the less others can define your worth. The more you embrace your inner light, the more effortlessly confidence flows, because confidence is nothing more than the recognition of your own illumination. So stand tall, take up space, speak your truth with clarity, move through the world as though you already know the infinite value you bring. Because you do, it has always been inside you, waiting for you to claim it, As you step into this light, you realize that life itself responds. Opportunities align. Relationships deepen. Joy multiplies. Challenges become less daunting because your inner strength now guides your steps rather than fear. Your light does not chase happiness, it attracts it. It does not resist change, it illuminates it. And in the moments when you doubt, when shadows creep in, return to the spark within. Breathe, center, and remember, no darkness can overcome the light that burns inside you. It is eternal. It is yours. It is waiting for you to shine without apology. This is the culmination of your journey through self-love and confidence. All the steps, all the lessons, all the moments of growth lead here to the recognition that you are whole, that you are brilliant, that the light you have been seeking has been inside you all along. Carry this truth with you. Allow it to transform your choices, your relationships, your perspective, and your very presence in the world. Live boldly, love fiercely, starting with yourself, shine unapologetically. Because when you become your own light, everything changes. You are no longer waiting for life to bless you. You are the blessing. You are the spark. You are the lighthouse guiding your soul. And anyone willing to walk alongside you safely home. And now, as this audiobook closes, take a deep breath, feel your own illumination, and step into the world, fully, completely, radiantly. You are ready, you are enough, and your light will never fade.